Hello again, and here we are at Module 4. Our objectives are the same, and we're moving through the agenda. So now we're going to look at narrative comments from the bus depot, the mall, and work. So participant 4 is discussing what it's like to just cope with it. Said I had no other choice, really, but to realize that what I was doing was wrong. When I was actually going through it and was doing medications, I just had to cope with it and just get over it. I kind of had to look at myself and think, what can I do to change, activity-wise or towards other people-wise? It makes me responsible for the management of my life. It's pretty insightful. I had to change the way I say things. I just have to watch. I can almost see it coming, but there's nothing I can really do about it. Again, fear of another episode or relapse. I have to separate myself from the symptoms. That's the one big thing. That's a huge, insightful statement. I can communicate better with people than before. I can explain my thoughts easier than I did before. Participant 3 says, sometimes I'll just say enough that I'll know it's weird, but not quite let everybody know exactly everything and just see what they do with it. I think that's a great bus depot statement. Like I said, for some people, they're hanging out maybe outside of Walmart. They're in the parking lot or, on the outskirts of a park, not too close to people, just trying to see, can I get back into society? How do I figure out my thoughts? Okay, I had to prove the voice wasn't mine. So all the things I was hearing wasn't mine. It was just stuff I was kind of hearing or kind of imagining. So I had to do that, and I had to make a separation of what I wanted to do and what that stuff, meaning his voices, were telling me to do, or making up stuff, making my own reality. How to figure out my thoughts. For several months, I had to just lay on the couch and play my game. It's kind of like writing a story, really. You just come up with things to think about, and some of it might be inappropriate to write about, like cuss a lot, and see if that makes it go away. This is with my thinking, not trying to talk out loud. So a few of them talked about feeling like they had a joystick hooked up to their brain, and they were trying to get the voices to stop and things to go away like they were doing a video game. And that would make sense. That's the video game generation. When you're playing those games in your head, it's like somebody's encouraging you. That's what the feeling is like. So again, looking for encouragement, looking for support. Participant 8. I go back and forth in my own head trying to figure it out because I didn't trust other people. The most valuable thing of being psychotic was getting the opportunity to challenge my own thoughts. Most people don't get that chance. I was able to learn how people form their own beliefs. And again, this was one of our older participants. You can see the difference in maturity. Participant 10, this is the first time we're seeing a comment from him. He was an amazing young man. He was majoring in music at a major university on the West Coast. And as part of his senior thesis, he had to direct the band at the halftime of a major conference football game, championship. And you know how many times the band conductor is up on a ladder conducting the band that's on the football field. Well, that was him. He was up on the ladder, and he had his psychotic break at that football game on halftime, televised. And he just, tried to jump off the ladder, didn't quite jump off the ladder, was running around the football field. The band didn't know what to do. The TV people didn't know what to do. And anyway, they, were able to stop him and take him to get some help. So he knew he had his psychotic break on TV. And he was still very, very devastated. This was, I think, maybe 3 years post-episode. But he came home to the Oregon area and got into this program. So he says, the intensity of my thoughts has always been the same. It's just what I think about has changed. I'm always trying to sort it out. That's my goal, to figure things out. I just don't know how to do it. It always stays within my head. I had to go through my thoughts and try to fit them into everything that happened before, meaning before the episode. And when the interview was done and I was engaging in conversation with him, I asked him, I said, well, what was your favorite instrument? And he said he loved to play the trumpet. That was his instrument. And I said, well, where's your trumpet? He said, I haven't touched it since that day. And I said, well, where is it? And he said it was at his mom's house. And I said, think about it. Your ability to play the trumpet's still there. And you can do that in your own room. But he was living in a single-room occupancy room, but he did have a job kind of helping as a caregiver for another client, but very, very still withdrawn and just really pretty stuck, as is easy to understand. So how does a person go about conducting autonomous reality checks? Because they'd all figured out how to do it, but participant 3 had an amazing ability to share this. So we're going to walk through his entire kind of dissertation here, describing the intricacies of what he went through. So the first thing I had to realize was I knew this wasn't right, because all the things I thought I was thinking and all this other stuff I was hearing. So I had to make sure people weren't after me and people weren't trying to trick me with the voices and stuff because of the things I'd done, meaning drugs and some illegal stuff that landed him in jail. And I kind of had to prove that was wrong. And I had to prove that those voices weren't coming out of my head. And it wasn't something that my brain was creating for me to listen to, Actually, I had to rejoin reality. I had to keep that other reality out of my head and keep it separate from what I was doing all of the time. After that, after I started thinking clearly and proving it was, conversation or hanging out with other people or whatever, and came back to a normal life, and the spirit just kind of picked up itself. So this was not an overnight process. I would do a reality check. It was a desire to be smarter than what was going on and beating it logically and look at things realistically. I would kind of outsmart my brain. If I heard something that I kind of thought people would commonly react to, I would kind of just react and see if anybody would look at me weird. Or sometimes I would just spit it out like Tourette's, just randomly say things. I would just kind of do it that way. I don't think I've ever asked anybody if they actually heard what I heard. Kind of actually what I do is I hear things and I just think, I'm hearing them different, Then I tell myself, it's not me thinking, it's not me thinking, it's something else. It hasn't bothered me. That's how I've done it for a long time. Sometimes it can get to me. It can distract me. I know now, too, that it's not anybody around me trying to affect me that way. That's a big thing that others described, that once they went through this process of sorting reality, they realized that other people were not doing it to them. It's not a bad thing to me anymore. I can just tell myself it's just me thinking. That's all that's happening. Because I can still hear things, but it's different now. And at that point, his mom looked at him because he had not told anybody he was still hearing voices until our interview. So that was pretty amazing. So he said, if it was something, if it was kind of a question or a statement or something, I would react. And then if other people heard it, hopefully they would too, react or not react. Kind of how it happened. I never got any reactions. So it was kind of a reality check. I was just hearing things, and it wasn't like my mind wanting to do this, or it wasn't my mind creating all this stuff. Once I heard it, it was up to me to react to it or not, and what to do with it. It was up to me, the whole thing. Stay away from all the bad things and exercise. It was my mind making the decisions and my body going after it. That was the main goal, the main idea, for me to stay in reality. So I would really encourage you to share this quote with your clients, with your consumers, about the fact that, it was up to me to react. And I think it can give people a lot of encouragement. That's why I had so many different quotes, but I just picked these I thought that would be most helpful for this training. I wasn't worried, more confused than anything else. I got used to it. By the time I got used to it, it only took me a couple of months to really get used to it. And I only got used to it because I quit my job. And I stayed at home and laid around on the couch, trying to adapt to the experience. So this is our person with the ghosts. So when you think about what he's saying here, a couple of months after he quit his job, how he got used to it. So when we see people dropping out of school, quitting work, and they're too embarrassed because they're fluctuating between these phases to tell us what's really going on, you can say, I talked to another consumer once who said, he quit his job because that was the only way to try to deal with things, not that you wanted to quit your job. So I'm hoping that these particular quotes will really encourage you. So participant 3 then was talking about this length of time, this 1 year phase. So then the next spring I tried to take a class, but I had to take the summer off. It was so stressful. I had to take the summer off and just laying around. A year later, I was able to take a class and get some decent grades. I remember sitting around that whole summer not doing much at all when it first happened, when I first got on the meds. It was late fall, 6 months after he got on his meds, before I started getting onto it. So again, we see this pattern, this 6 months of being on the couch, and then another 6 months thinking, well, maybe I can get some insight. For participant 4, the symptoms lasted a year and a half until I got on the right meds. It took me about a year of being lazy. After a year, I just got better. Participant 6, it took about a year after I got on the right meds. And after that, I took things a lot slower, but they'd be like step by step. It'd be like small steps you noticed you'd be doing, you'd be doing better in a certain thing. You'd want to be thinking. And I could sleep better at night. So this was our person that was arrested in the liquor store. And here's our band director. After the diagnosis, everything was different. Sometimes it's hard to do anything. Taking a shower is hard. Cleaning my place is hard. I went a year and a half with only brushing my teeth a few times. So, for him, I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming there was probably quite a bit of depression that was going on at the same time. Okay, so now let's look at some comments from being at the mall in that cognitive constancy phase. Importance of support, our band director. Support at the EAST program. If I didn't have EAST, maybe I would have committed suicide. It helps to have people there to help me. So again, this is about, the need for support and someone that will believe in you. Being able to constructively use time, talked about by participant 3, he said, it's important to have things to do. There'll be times I'll be around here, I either have too much to do or absolutely nothing to do, and I will just kind of walk around circles through the house. I'll do that 2 or 3 times, and then I'll realize I need something to do, and I'm just wasting time and looking like a fool. The need for reassurance. Reassure me that I'm going to be okay, and that I'm still me, and that this is only temporary, and not what I'm going to be like for the rest of my life. One time my mom said to me, I want my old John, that wasn't his real name, back. And I said to her, he's in here somewhere. That's another one that just grabs your heartstrings. The importance of not having too much quiet time. Being alone makes it worse. Being alone allows you to think more, which sometimes thinking isn't very good. And then also being alone sometimes can be stressful because it's quiet. Things happen. It wouldn't happen if you're other people. Like my voices get really loud when I'm alone. The importance of listening to me. If someone sit down and really listen to you, and that psychosis is not really who you are, it doesn't define you. I love that one. Participant 6. I've had to learn to listen to other people a bit sometimes instead of always just going off on your own thinking. Not everybody knows what's best for you, but some people do know a lot more than others. I had a good friend of mine who, when I said that I thought my phones were tapped or something, he said, well, why would they be paying attention to you? How are you that significant? So to find people that you trust who will give you those bits of wisdom. So this was a female, and she was talking about her boyfriend, and she thought the FBI was tapping her, and he just said, well, what do you really know that they want to know? And she goes, nothing. I know nothing. And so he said, well, then they're not paying attention to you. And she kind of went, oh, okay. It was a really interesting part of our interaction. The need for treatment. The main focus is dealing with it and recovering. It was important for me to just believe in the truth and accept what was going on and accept I needed treatment. That was a big thing. Just coming to grips with it. It was Labor Day. I got a kitten, and it gave me some purpose. My mom helped me to remember to take care of the cat. And I need to share with you, he eventually graduated with his registered nurse degree, associate's degree from a community college. I think he'll make a great nurse. Another view on accepting the need for treatment. I mean, there's still things I'm going to have to jump over or whatever, but I think everybody has to. But I think once I finally accepted, I don't really know when I accepted it. I think it was kind of gradual, that I did have something that needed medicine, and I needed to know I have it, so I can know ahead of time what to expect, what's going to happen in certain situations. The biggest step was to finally accept that I did have something wrong. Huge statement. Another one I think would be great to share with some of your clients. The doctor helped me understand that there were other people with schizophrenia. It's not just me. Our family, we talk about it and stuff. They're understanding when it's not like I'm the only person that has it. If I was the only person that had it, they probably wouldn't be very understanding. So you can still see some of that circumlocution in his thought, circular reasoning. Getting the right medicine. Medications definitely help, but sometimes I think they're just a placebo effect where just because I'm on them, I don't feel like I need to do something about it because I'm already taking medication for it. So yeah, well, I'm thinking now that there is more than just a placebo effect, that there is something real. So again, if you give people enough time to answer and process, they kind of figure things out on their own pretty well. Okay, the last phase, ordinariness. I feel like I have a lot of catch up to do. I have a lot of things I have to get in order before I start looking at the things I want to do. I mean, there are things that I want to do that are short-term goals, but in the long term, I've got to figure out how these things are going to fit together so I can do whatever it is that I want to do in the long term. It's more than just making it through the week, which is better than it was, because it used to be just about making it through the day. So I make it through the week, and then I can plan for things in the future, maybe in the short term, like maybe a couple of months down the line. So again, this is our young woman that was put out on the streets that had the sexual assaults while she was psychotic. Every time I get unstuck, you fall back all the time. Like, that's what I'm really scared of. That's why I'm not really pushing myself this time. I was hoping that if I do things slower, I won't fall back. But it's like I'm stuck and hopeless. I feel pretty stuck all the time. And so the question was, how do you know when you're adjusted? And she said, I'd get hope that there's better things out there. They were thinking about taking me out of East, and I think it's stupid. Because even though I'm back to normal life right now, it hasn't been long enough. It hasn't been enough years before you know it's going to take a while, I think, and you just have to accept that. I think that's a powerful statement about not ending programs too fast. And their band director, how he knows he'll be adjusted. I wouldn't have all these questions. Whether I can trust my family. I would just know. I wouldn't have all this conflict and uncertainty. I would have made progress. I'll know it in my head. I don't know how long it's going to take to recover. And, I don't know how his life turned out. And this was, when were they doing these interviews? In 2005. So that's 15 years ago. It's like I did them yesterday. They were so powerful. My life goals. I wanted to do stuff at the time I was 37. Everything's come to a stop. I feel like I got cheated because I missed out on important characteristics that I've seen my friends doing. I don't have that stuff. I wanted to buy a house, do things that are supposed to happen in your 30s. I've never been able to follow through anything ever since I was like in the 8th grade. I got to push myself and have a life because I really do not have too much of a life throughout the last 4 years since it happened. And I've been in shelters. I'm stuck. I always fall down. I lose everything, like including material items, friends, home, whatever. You really feel that pain, don't you? How about managing symptoms? The biggest thing, I don't have any of those old weird thoughts. Last summer I snapped out of it, ever thinking that most negative thought. I don't have any of my old symptoms. I rarely think about having another episode because I can feel the difference. And I know if I would, I know exactly who to go to. If it does happen, I don't think it'll be a big deal. If it does happen, because I don't think it'll be very big. I don't think it'll ever be like it was. So it was on May 1st, May Day. In his culture, that's a very important religious day. And he was standing in his window on the 2nd story, watching a parade, and he believed that he could fly. And so he was up in the window. Somebody saw him down from the parade, getting ready to jump, and they yelled, and he stopped. I don't think I'm stuck. So if I never have another psychosis, then yes, I've adjusted. If I do, then I think I'm going to be better at knowing how to deal with it. I know the changes I had to make in my life. I hope to not be on medications all the time. I just don't like putting chemicals in all the time. But then other people have to do it for all sorts of disorders. So why am I so special? I think that's great. Just love how give a person enough time, they'll come around and solve their own question. Okay, so that's the end of Module 4. And I'm sure you've got lots of questions and answers. I hope you're having some good discussion. And I'll see you in a few minutes.